Got a special evening. We don't typically ship this around for a lot of shows. Listen Up has been a spectacular partner for Sony Electronics going back decades, even before my time here at Sony or even in this industry. And we wanted to create a special event and share that with all of you tonight. So this is our CLED product. CLED stands for Crystal LED. And what makes this product so unique is it's completely scalable. It's what's known in the industry as a direct view LED or a DV LED. And before I play a bunch of clips here, I kind of just want to talk to you about what we do differently at Sony compared to some of the competition out there. You know, Sony Electronics, we build this incredible audio video gear that you guys all hopefully have in your homes. Maybe it's a TV, maybe it's a Sony ES receiver. But Sony is a company, you know, is Sony Pictures, it's Sony Music. It's so much more than Sony Electronics. This technology was originally designed for virtual production. I was just out at an undisclosed location where I got a chance to see a video wall that was about 160 feet by 60 feet tall. And they're using this now to shoot movies, to shoot the new exciting movies that are coming out. It's replacing green screens. And one of the cool things that's happening now is the actors are starting to feel more immersed in the scenes instead of having to kind of act out and pretend that they're somewhere where they're not. So think of this screen being curved, because we can curve this material, or we can curve this technology, on a sound stage where, you know, you're enveloped in the movie. Helps tell that story, right? So this is kind of where that technology started. This is our CH series. CH standing for contrast. Just remember, if you're looking at a C series, it means contrast. B series means brightness. The BH series we use more in our commercial applications. It's capable of reaching 1700 nits of brightness. Very, very bright. This particular display, we're going to be looking at about 1300 nits. I have this dialed down about 30%, so we're going to not quite be at its peak brightness. We're going to be about 70% there. I can crank it up to 100% if you want to see what it's truly capable of. So, how this technology works. Got a bunch of these cool little panels here. So, if you choose to, when Listen Up installs one of these in your home, there's what's called cabinets that make up this whole system. This is a 110-inch diagonal screen, or what we call in the business a 4x4 cabinet. What that means is it's literally just 4 cabinets tall by 4 cabinets wide. I'll pass this around. I know, don't worry about the fingerprints. I'll clean it up later. Okay. But still 16 by 9. This one is, yeah. The good question. So the aspect ratio is completely scalable. If you wanted a 240 screen, or you wanted a custom aspect ratio, we could build it around the size and shape of the room that you're putting this in. So in each cabinet, there's 2 of these panels that he has here in front, and each one of those panels has 6 modules to it. So for each cabinet, there's 12 modules that make up that cabinet and that display. Now, the cool part is our processor knows where each of these modules and cabinets are placed. It's all done through our software and our computer system. And it's capable of doing 22-bit mapping, which what that means for you is just amazing amount of color reproduction. At Sony Electronics, we're known for our processing. If you've bought our TVs over the previous years, we've got the best processing in the business. And the CLED, it's no exception with that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start to just play the content as he's passing this around. I can play a movie while we don't have a thing attached to it. It's just fine. The question becomes, you know, not do I want a 65-inch or do I want a 75-inch display? The question now becomes, how big is my room? How big is my wall that I want to put my display on? Because we can now build and scale that according to the size and shape of the room. So the cabinets are 27 inches diagonal. So let's say you wanted a 217-inch display.
Well, I mean, but if it's a multiple.
Exactly. Yeah, it just, as long as it fits within the cabinets. But the best part is let's say you as a customer, you know, a couple years from now you bought a 160-inch, right? And you're like, oh, I should have gone with a 200-inch. All you have to add is those other columns now. It's 4K capable. You know, 8K is still kind of in its infancy. We don't see a lot of 8K content out there. Even at Sony Pictures, when we're mastering a lot of these movies that are coming out, they're not being mastered in 8K. A lot of them are barely being mastered in 4K still for some transfers. Refresh rate's important, yeah, for like video games and stuff. This one can do 4K 120 through the dual DisplayPort inputs, but it's capable of doing that for you.
Was it dirty? It's still good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the process here there is controlling every single
Isn't that neat?
individually, and it knows where everything is.
It's mapped it out so it knows every position. So you brought up a good point, though. I want to touch on our lens to living room story. You probably saw that it was marketed on the Facebook ad or through social media. So I mentioned this was started like with virtual production, right? The direct view LED walls. If you think about how movies are made, you know, oftentimes they're shot on a Sony camera. You know, look at the new Top Gun Maverick movie. They used our Sony Venice 2 cameras in the cockpit while he's flying around on the jet. So if it's shot on a Sony, and oftentimes it's mastered on a Sony professional display, we have our BVM monitors. It's about $1,000 an inch, and they use a 30-inch monitor to calibrate the movies and the color. So you get the perfect color, the perfect brightness every time. They're using a Sony monitor for that. So when you're thinking about buying a TV or even an ES receiver or, you know, whatever the case may be, if the movies are shot on a Sony and they're mastered on a Sony, why not have a Sony in your house to kind of complete the story, right? But that's our lens to living room story. So again, this is 110-inch. It's completely scalable. You can go as big as you want. This is our contrast series. So you notice as I passed it around, it had that glossy finish to it. When you see these in stadiums and in commercial spaces, oftentimes it doesn't have this high resin application to it. It's more susceptible to damage. But we do this on purpose with the high resin, and I'll play this content for you, is it helps our contrast. It helps that black level. We increase the contrast by applying the special coating, giving you those inky blacks that you would get with like an OLED display, but on a full scalable DV LED wall. The 110, and again, I just want to preface, this isn't a popular size that we do a lot in residential. Most popular sizes that we're seeing these days are like 160 and above. This one retails for $159 retail, so just under $160,000 for the 110-inch. But that includes labor, that includes the wall bracket, that's soup to nuts, everything you'll need for this display to be installed in your house. When you put one of these in your home, or Lesson Up specifies one for you, one of the things that's included in that price is spare kits and spare modules. Because, you know, let's say a kid throws a ball or something, it hits the screen, or maybe a pixel goes out, you know, God forbid. Instead of replacing the whole panel, I can just take out one of those little squares now, and I can replace those little modules. So those are very cost effective. What isn't cost effective is the processor that's running the brains behind the system. That's where all the magic's happening. So this is Gran Turismo. This kind of ties into our lens to living room. Gran Turismo started off as a video game, and last year there was a movie release. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, the new Gran Turismo. It was good. I'll show the movie clip after this, but you know, pay attention to the brightness. Now this is dialed in at, you know, like I said, 30% less than 100%. I'm going to bump it up for you.
Did you see the news report that the kid that was doing the video gaming on the race car driving actually just ran a race and won it?
No. Like recently, like within the past?
The news came out yesterday. It was on the national news.
All right, so that's awesome. Yeah, so we are, I'm going to crank it up in brightness here for you guys. Here's what I will say. So I mentioned our mastering monitor that they use at the studios. We just released a new version last year, or we announced that we started shipping in February. It's our BVM HX3, well, the model number is not important, but it's the 3110. What is important is it's capable of 4,000 nits. What this gives those content creators is the ability to scale that color volume and that brightness without clipping in those bright scenes. So now you guys can pick up that subtle detail when you're watching it at home on your Sony TVs. So it just gives them more headroom. So power consumption, I have the power ratings. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but you bring up a good point. The power consumption for this, we actually have the lowest in the industry in terms of power consumption compared to all the other competition, even though we're at a brighter nit capability compared to most. So we consume a lot less power, and we also produce a lot less heat. With the previous versions, you had to build out a separate kind of room just for air ventilation with the previous models. This current version, the heat emits just through the panels themselves. Everything is front-facing in terms of serviceability. Doesn't produce a ton of heat. You know, it's not going to be an oven when you're standing next to it. You don't have to use it to heat your house in the winter.